Today I want to tell you about my 3 favorite image-to-video prompting hacks that I use across the different platforms, and I'm able to use it to create awesome videos like this. This was very much a win, and this was actually my simplest prompt hack out of the whole deal. So, all right, so the 3 main prompt hacks that I want to give you are, number 1, I call it the lazy genius. I simply say bring it to life, and the right platforms do the right things. Here's an example of Pika Turbo. Really killing it with this image. I think everything looks natural and fluid. This is probably one of the better AI-produced image to videos that I've really made. There's not much to pull apart here, except for maybe the fact that because it's Pika Turbo, it was 720p. So, all right, the second hack I like to call the director's chair, which is a short, very clear action. In fact, I used ChatGPT to help me a little bit on really narrowing that down. And then the last one I like to call GPT me, to where I will ask ChatGPT to write a full-on prompt, get some direction of generally what I want to see happen in the video. But then most importantly is I want ChatGPT to write the prompt for the specific platform that I'm using. And today I'm going to be actually comparing Pika versus Runway and see how they do. So, all right, let's get into this. So, I have 2 different images that I was working with today, and I did a little ChatGPT kind of work here on, all right, so it created, it wanted to do an eerie neon alleyway with a mysterious figure. So great, that's a cool scene. And another one with dramatic action, so a warrior jumping through fiery battlefield, which is again what you saw there in the first image. So, all right, let's pop on over to Runway and see how it did. Now, again, I've been underwhelmed by Runway for the past couple months, and today was again an extension of that same kind of feeling. So, all right, I'm using Gen 3 Alpha Turbo, which actually has been kind of the best one so far for me. And I want to show you some of the results. So, first one here on Runway, where I just used the simple bring it to life. This was a complete fail. The person, my apologies. I think it's actually up here. The person's walking backwards with their head facing towards me. It missed this one completely. Now, some of the things that it did really well here is it created new imagery behind these walls that wasn't in the original imagery. So that was some cool AI creation that was consistent. And, the side, they're moving pretty good, but it wasn't for the fact that this figure has his torso twisted around. I think it would be pretty decent. So, all right. The next step here, I added a little bit of the director's chair prompt. So I said I want to see the neon signs flicker. I want to see the fog slightly moving and the figure kind of shift their weight and turn. So let's see how Runway did. So the figure is not really moving. The neon signs aren't really flickering. And again, it's Runway just kind of underwhelming me here. But just wait until you see how well Pika does with some of these. So, all right, last step here to try to give it a full prompt of this animation. So this is the one that I had ChatGPT fully write out for me. So if I went down here, the actual Runway prompt that I gave to put in. And all right, let's see how that one did. And pretty good, except I asked it to pull out a cell phone, and it pulled out 2 cell phones. But you know what? If it just pulled out the one cell phone and answered it and had this person walking towards the camera, I think I could get there and get a pretty good result. So this would require a few iterations, but I know I'm onto something pretty good here because everything looks pretty continuous. So that was a really good prompt that actually worked well with Runway. So Runway, you kind of have to give it some direction. You can't just say bring to life because then you can get weird stuff like this happening. So I'll revisit this again when it comes to my warrior person. So all right, let's hop on over to Pika here and see how Pika did. Now, 2 things I want to talk about with Pika here. First of all, when I first started to do this, I did some generations on Pika 2.2, and it did it again to where Rosh and I have been struggling with Pika 2.2. If you're not putting in 2 different images that are supposed to go from one to the other, it kind of fails. So here's my bring to life, and it has this character reaching out and then all of a sudden becoming like magical and having lightning come from his hands. I didn't say to do that. And Pika, I think, tries to do a little too much. It's just trying a little too hard. So, you know what? I kind of had these same issues here when it came to my samurai person where extra people popped up and all of a sudden there was a battle. And I was like, you know what? Pika 2.2, I'm done with you. Let's go on back to Turbo and see how Turbo does. And Turbo Pika is the best. I just love it. So this is a great example of one that looks pretty good. I like the way he's walking. I like the way the coat kind of falls on this character. They don't really show too much. So like Pika 2.2 would try to like animate the character's face and get into something animated and weird looking, where this is pretty natural, but I'd say the background looks pretty static and boring. So Runway was a little better with its background work. Pika was better with its character work. Sorry, let's get out of this one. I'm going to give it a little more of a prompt, so I want the neon signs to flicker. I want the fog to move slightly and the figure to shift its weight and turn its head slightly. And this one I thought was pretty good, but again, the background is looking kind of boring. It didn't really do too much with it. The neon signs aren't really flickering or doing anything too well there. So, all right. Lastly, here's that full animated scene where the mysterious figure in a trench coat walks towards the camera. Neon signs flicker, and he pulls out a cell phone. And you know, this one's actually pretty good, except for one little moment in it. So right here, when he pulls it out, it's his hand funny, but then it looks kind of natural when he turns with it. So not too bad. There were some wins and some losses here. So again, when you are trying to generate image to video, you're going to have to try multiple iterations and multiple prompt types, and you're going to get some wins and some losses, and you're going to get some ones that work really well, and then you're going to want to develop that prompt a little bit more. So it all depends on what type of image you're working with and what platform you're working with, and this is where the AI creative director needs to know how to use these tools the right way to get some pretty usable stuff. So all right, I want to pop back and talk about my my samurai character here. So I had some pretty good wins, and the one in the beginning of the video was Pika, where I simply said bring it to life. And I thought the running looks so natural here. The sword still in the hand looks natural. It distorts slightly, but if it's a slow-mo scene, you know, we've seen swords distort. I think his clothing looks pretty natural floating behind him. The fire and the ash in the background looks perfect. I really, really, really like this one. All right, so let's move on to just the director's scene. So it's a scene with a warrior mid-air, sword raised, fire and smoke in the background, smoke and embers flying. And all right, so the character remains in the air. The smoke and the embers look great, and he's kind of moving the sword. I like this. It looks like it's just like a slow-mo of him, you know, mid-air, even though the fire is not in slow-mo. So it's kind of a cool distortion of speed of things to where the warrior's moving slow, but the fire isn't. So I kind of like the imagery on this one. I thought this was pretty much a win. And then this last one is the full-on prompt I got from ChatGPT. So animate this battle scene. A fierce warrior leaps through the air. And I thought Pika went a little too far with this one, but let's see what you think. So the character's getting towards us. There's an explosion, and now he's kind of morphing in an odd way. Are there little 1 or 2 second clips out of this I could probably use for something? Definitely, but I wouldn't use this whole 5-second clip. I thought there were some wins and some losses here on Pika, on our character doing that. So, all right, so let's pop on over to Runway and see how our warrior character did with our 3 different prompts. So Runway, that's the simple bring to life. Let's see how we're looking here. You know, what I like about Runway is it's always trying to move the camera and make the scene feel 3D, which is great. It moved the character a little bit, but not in natural ways, and I don't really care for how the fire is looking in these explosions in the background. So, again, a little bit of a miss here for Runway, but Runway gets better here with some better prompting. So, all right, here's the director's version of it. So we've got the warrior's cape, hair flowing in motion, fire flickers, and embers move. Let's see how this one's looking. And I like the fire. The fire is much more realistic on this one. The character, at times, when you get this kind of up view on it, I could use a few clips and seconds of that in a different thing I was working on. So I'd call this a medium win. And then, all right, let's look at our full-blown director's version where we've given it a full prompt, high-energy animation of a warrior mid-air with a powerful swing and giving it a ton of information. Let's see how Runway did. So not really a powerful swing. He's up in the air. He's moving backwards, which is kind of unnatural. He's jumping off of not the ground. So again, Runway, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that you did other things well, like expanding video and this cool Act 1 feature, I'd almost be ready to turn in my subscription here for Runway. But however, Pika, I would say, definitely generated us some wins here today. So altogether, you know, I hope this helps you if you are thinking about taking an image and bringing it to life, just the different ways you can get started, the different ways you can prompt and get different results from it. And my advice is always to understand what each of the platforms do really well and work with the prompting. You're going to always have to do a few iterations and lastly, don't always expect to get a full 5 or 10-second clip that the whole thing is usable and feels natural. You might only want to use it for some B-roll footage for only, 2 or 3 seconds at a time or something like that. So please let me know in the comments what your favorite image to video prompts are, what you have the most success with. Also, which programs that you have the most success with. I tried to introduce Kling as a comparison in this one, but I still have an hour waiting, but I'm on the free version here. So I'll do a follow-up video just showing how Kling does against both of the Pika and the Runway ones that we did. And then lastly, do you use an LLM to try to help these projects through as you're trying to work on different things? I like to use it as a sounding board to give me some ideas and some prompts and everything, and it really helps. So ChatGPT is really good to bring into the loop there as well. So Rosh and I, we talk every Monday. We do a full podcast. It's available on all the popular streaming platforms and right here on YouTube. And we try to talk about the latest topics and what we've been doing in the world of AI. So please give our show a watch. And if you haven't yet and you're this far in the video, please give us a like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Helps us keep getting some great information out to the creatives out there. But until then, we are just two creative guys talking AI.